Hi there, I am DJ Governor Slim inviting you to join me for your Nighttime Groove Mondays through Thursdays from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. and on Saturdays for your weekend mashup from 1 until 3 on WTP Media Network 93.5 to the world at www.wtpantigua.com.
Antigua, raise your flag high. It's kind of a time. You feel it? I feel it. Feel the rhythm now.
You feel it? The Caribbean's greatest summer festival is here. Bigger, louder, and sweeter than ever. Feel the rhythm from July 25th to August 4th, 2026. Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhythm of mass. Feel the rhythm of music. Feel the rhythm of our culture. Experience non-stop vibes, unforgettable moments, epic fests, and the energy that only Antigua Carnival can deliver. Mark your calendars now and don't miss a single show, a single fete, or a single jam. Stay connected and follow the rhythm. Facebook at Antigua Carnival. Instagram at Antigua Festival Official. Antigua Carnival 2026, July 25th to August 4th, 2026. Come feel the rhythm. Feel the rhythm.
Are you ready?
Last year, we had a party, but this year, we are back for an encore performance.
Are you ready? No.
It's the Long Bay Lager Caribbean Melting Pot. Thursday, July 30th, 8 p.m. sharp. Carnival City comes alive.
Showtime in 5, so let we start it.
With the undisputed king of soca, Marshall Montano. Alongside the soca general, Skinny Fabulous. From Grenada, bringing pure jab energy, Muddy. Antigua's reigning soca monarch, Tia Winter. And the carnival baby herself, Tizzy. Straight out of Dominica, Triple K International. Listen out for a heavy supporting cast. This year is the most epic ultimate encore performance. Early bird tickets are only $100. House of Rhythm, $350. Limited offer. Tickets available on the ticketing app and select ticket outlets island-wide. Feel the rhythm of the Caribbean. Catch the encore performance. Let it go!
Sports is life. Sports is unity. Sports is Adrian, and Adrian is sports. Join me, Adrian the Lefty Constant, for the sports show that is going to rock the airwaves, the Endgame Sports Show. Previews, reviews, debates, and discussions on everything happening in sports. Whether local, regional, or international, the Endgame panel got you covered. Join us from 1 to 3 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on WTP 93.5 and 93.7 FM for the Endgame. Remember, sports is unity.
Welcome to the Endgame Sports Show. My name is Adrian, the Lefty Constant, and I'm joined by a guest that, hear his voice a lot. His content inspires this show a lot. I'm not going to be like everyone and be like, oh, I find my own content all the time. No, I promise you, I listen to this show, and some of his takes I agree with. Most of his takes I actually agree with. Some I don't agree with. There is one take that forever will stay with me, and I'll talk about it in a few. But, the one Mash from the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Delighted to be on. Pleasure to be on. And anybody who's listening to this, make sure you follow the show. Not my show, follow this show. And, like it, share it, etc.
Yeah, definitely. But, follow your show as well. But normally, Normally, we don't do interviews on the show. I do interviews on an extra segment called the Endgame Extra Time, where it's just designated to interviews. But I heard after watching the New Zealand series live, we just said, let me reach out and see what's happening. So definitely want to thank you for joining us on here.
No problem. Absolute pleasure.
Now to go straight into it. Who's Mash? Who are you? How did you get into everything before before CCP?
Good question. I guess born in Jamaica. My family moved to the UK when I was about 4 years old. My parents are back in Jamaica, so I start there because I think a lot of people always hear the accent and they just go, "Who's this English boy?" but I consider myself born, bred. I did my A levels in Jamaica as well, so I consider myself born and bred and raised in Jamaica. The only thing that isn't Jamaican is the accent. But you know, that's kind of who I am and who I class myself as. And I guess I feel like I have two lives at the moment. There's the me in my day job, which is as an educator, and then there's the me who I would say also in my day job, but more so outside of my day job is, I don't know what's the right word to use, podcaster, media person, journalist, delete as applicable. But that's the kind of CCP Caribbean Cricket Podcast entity in terms of looking at all things. Do you know, I was about to say all things West Indies cricket, but it's a bit more than that. You know, we kind of cover Caribbean culture, Caribbean history, obviously West Indies cricket primarily through all age groups and genders, the boys, the girls, the seniors, men's and women's side, the politics, the administrators. So we try to, or I try to, I guess, do as much as a comprehensive service as I can in terms of uniting the cricket lovers across the region into all things West Indies cricket.
I mean, I generally think that's a good thing. The other day on one of my shows, I did a small, because I studied marketing. I was also an educator, primary school level before going off on scholarship. And one of the things I did was, how can we, after the West Indies announced that our budget, well, our funds are very low, and I was wondering how can we use our history and all that. And one of the things I realized was we have a lot more fans in the US, the UK, the Canadas than we really have in the region. And these fans are not, they don't have the access of a lot of things that a Chicago Bulls fan would have of Michael Jordan, So things like that. I'm glad that your podcast, your show is able to just talk West Indies cricket, give us an avenue to just sit and talk. There is something you did say yesterday that I want to get into as well because it's a huge topic. But before we go there, let's talk about your love for West Indies cricket because that is one thing I love. I tell people in my order of sports is West Indies cricket, Kobe Bryant, and then anything after. West Indies cricket, Kobe Bryant, and anything after.
A good list. Do you know what my daughter said to me the other day? What do I love more, football or cricket? And I said to her, because the joke is, as a kid, I played football, and if I think growing up, you'd find me more at a live football event before you'd find me at a live cricket event. But the cricket was more, to me, the cricket was more about bringing and tying together my cultural heritage. So my father, and I have to give him the credit, although maybe discredit is the right word, but I've give him the credit in terms of he made sure that when West Indies were playing, we watched West Indies. He made sure that that I was aware of the kind of significance of and meaning of the West Indies cricket team, not just to me as a Jamaican youth, but to across the region and its importance. Now, I hasten to add that I always say to him, he's lucky though, because he grew up at a time when West Indies were dominant. So when he's passing this on to me now, he's passing on the history and legacy of a team that beat everybody. And as I was picking it up from him, it's when we started to lose. not lose to everyone, but just start to lose a bit. And so so I always say to him that he passed it on at the moment that he must have realized by
it's bad now.
golden era is over. so I carried on the legacy, the family legacy, in terms of watching the West Indies and feeling like it's an integral thing that defines who you are as somebody from the Caribbean, right? And then I think probably more so as well, and linking to your point about United States or North America, the United Kingdom, etc., there is such a huge diaspora in those areas, and not just from like whether Jamaica, Guyana, Antigua, all across the region. You can go to whether to the United States, Canada, or United Kingdom, and you will find someone from your island or nation there, right? And I feel like when my family moved to the UK, watching the West Indies, particularly when they came on tour to England, that was a way to feel connected to where you're from and who you are, etc. And that's why I've always said to people that the West Indies has always meant more to me than just a sports team. It's about defining who you are as people, right? And that's nothing to do with if they win, if they lose. I think it's bigger than that, right? And so that's why I've always carried it, and that's why I said to my daughter the other day that no, I think West Indies are probably more important to me, because West Indies means my football team can win or lose, and I'm not particularly bothered the next day. West Indies can win and lose, and it affects me in some shape or form. So it's a bit deeper than your average sports team.
Yeah, but I know that feeling. West Indies, like when we were doing the New Zealand, the one-day games, I think we won the first game. When we won game one, great day. Every game that we lost, it was like, I don't even want to talk. Because I would go on these Facebook rants. People would be like, what is he talking about? Because cricket has found a way to leave. Normally everyone is talking about cricket on the island. Now it is, I've stopped watching West Indies for 20 years. I've stopped watching West Indies for 10 years or 5 years. And it's sad. I also hope that and we'll touch on this a bit later, with the Joel Andrews, the Azaris, the Rakims, our Haydens, the guys that have made it, Kareem just recently, who have actually played for the West Indies, we'd find a lot more love here, because obviously we in the smaller islands, there's always this talk of small island, big island bias. Which, I mean, sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you see bias towards the small islands, in my opinion. But generally, I mean, it's great to know that there are other persons out there that really share a passion for West Indies cricket. CCP, the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, West Indies Cricket, Caribbean. Yeah. I'm a fan, definitely. How did it start? I know how it started, but tell the people, how did it start?
Yeah, so about 2016, 17, 18. I don't know where it is right now, but once upon a time, I used to write a blog, and it wasn't solely dedicated to the West Indies cricket team, but I used to write about the West Indies quite a lot. I don't know where it is. So anybody who's listens to this and tries to find it, let me know if you ever find it. I don't know where it's gone, but it was on the internet at some point in time, and that spoke to the fact that I had a passion about West Indies cricket, but I didn't really know how to get that passion or outlet out there. So I just started to create a blog and just started writing it. At some point, it was around the time that I think it was around the time of the 2019 World or 2018 World Cup qualifiers. I wrote a blog about plotting the history out of how we had got to a stage where players like DJ Bravo and Pollard and that lot were blackballed from West Indies cricket. So I wrote like an extensive blog about how we got to this point. And a few people in the cricket media industry picked up on it and kind of messaged me and said, you know what, this is really good. There's no one really out there writing stuff like this. And I think it gave them a useful kind of guide to be like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I always kind of highlight that as the key point at which I was like, maybe I should take some of this writing about West Indies cricket a bit more seriously, because my issue back then was there wasn't really a way to find things out about West Indies cricket. Each nation in the Caribbean has their own dedicated sports media, but there's no one outlet that covers everything, right? Yeah. So I think I started going on Twitter and just tweeting about West Indies cricket. And through what I still to this day can't remember how, but that's how I met Santoki, the co-host of the podcast. And he was in London, I was in London, and we realized that both of us had a similar story in that both of our parents had passed down the love of West Indies cricket. And we just met up. We met up and said, do you know what? I think there's a niche out there for a podcast that just purely talks about West Indies cricket. Because again, we were like, no one else really does it. And that must have been late 2019. And we just started it without any idea of how a podcast works, no equipment. Some people say that's still the case right now. So we no idea as to how to make this work. And then a few months later, COVID hit. Obviously, COVID was devastating. Rest in peace to all those who were affected by it, etc. And but in a weird way, the pandemic was the best thing that could have happened for the podcast, because obviously the world shut down, and it meant that we had basically started the West Indies podcast at a time when most people were just sitting in their houses. So it meant that very early on, within the first 10 episodes, I think we got Ramnaresh Sarwan on the podcast, who was always one of my favorites growing up. I think then we got Kieran Powell on the podcast. Obviously, Kieran Powell now has his own podcast. But the point, very early on, we got some established former West Indies cricketers or current West Indies cricketers on the podcast. And those kind of things give you traction. Do you see what I mean? But it would never have happened if there wasn't a pandemic, if you see what I mean. So
everyone would have something to do.
Exactly. So from there, you just kind of get a little bit of traction. And then slowly but surely, it's been genuinely a word of mouth organization. It's never been something that has had loads of money behind it or sponsorship behind it. People, I think, generally, when they listen to it, even kind of like what you said at the top of the show, even if you don't agree with what we're saying, I think people are like, but this is worth listening to, because there's conversations that I guess conversations that need to be had are being had on the show, if you see what I mean. And then I think through general word of mouth, it just slowly reached out to different people. And now I'd say we're at a point where it's probably a critical part of the West Indies cricket ecosystem, I guess. Maybe that's that might sound a bit too confident, but I think it's at that kind of stage where people recognize its importance in the context of West Indies cricket.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are a few podcast radio shows around the region that are solely talking about West Indies cricket. And I mean, I sit in, I listen to a few here or there, but I don't think there's a CCP episode that I miss, because again, it is my style of podcasting. Facts, however, fun. You know, like yesterday when Santoki's internet was going haywire, it was fun. It was a funny show while being very serious. You know, phrases like "down bad West Indies," these kind of things, you know, they really make us enjoy it. Santoki, mentioned that you and him met. You guys met, realized you shared a similar background. How is he to work with? Because I think that he's a really great cricket mind.
This is the funniest thing of all. Like, the fact that we didn't even know each other at all, right? I think when we started the podcast, we'd only met up maybe one time. I think it was only one time. I remember we met up somewhere in London, and we had a coffee or whatever. And I think I said, Santoki, I think I've got an idea about a podcast. And I said, what do you feel about it? Because you know how some people you meet in life, you just get a vibe. And with Santoki, I just got an immediate vibe of I can do a podcast with Santoki. We'll be able to just vibe off each other. And yeah, Santoki kind of just said, yeah, I think that'd be a really good idea, gave some ideas about what we could do, how it could work, etc. And that was all it took. Just that one meeting. We didn't even meet again before the first episode. And I think with Santoki, like both of us can do individual episodes on our own, and they stand up in and of themselves. But I think the beauty of it is we don't do as many together anymore just because of time and responsibilities, etc. But when we come together, there's a natural synergy where, and it's rare, I think, to be able to do a show with someone where you both know when to stop and the other person to just naturally come in, or you can kind of see the joke coming before the joke hits and the reactions are just natural and so on and so forth. So I think we're both just blessed in that we happen to just strike up a friendship that just for whatever reason worked. Just straight off the bat, it just worked. And there was nothing we've never really had to tweak anything. As you said, the show the other day, when Santoki's internet was horrible, a normal show edits it out to make it look like everything was okay. And the nature of who we are as people, we just left it all in for everyone to see because it speaks to how we function as co-hosts on the show. So as if people, like say, if people have watched it or listened to it, what you hear is literally as organic as it gets. There's no editing. There's no let's do this. Most of the stuff we do is just straight off the cuff. Let's see what we're going to say. So we rarely know what the other person's going to say before we record.
And that makes true sports journalism, sports reporting. Yes, we understand that when you plan and you have the scripts and the teleprompter in front of you, it's normally fact. But when you're able to speak from the heart, from the mind, especially pre-game reviews, lives, it gives you a sense, it gives the people a sense of what is actually happening. Now, here we go. This is where I may ruin my day, because normally it happens. The big WI, West Indies cricket. As you guys would say, down bad. But, I mean, not as bad as it sounds. I think that we can generally have great moments. We have somewhere we can focus in terms of, T20 cricket. We're being embarrassed in other formats, which means that we know there is work to be done there. It's not like we're, for example, like in England, where, they would beat a lot of teams, but when they see Australia down in the Ashes, they get destroyed. So you're now wondering, okay, what do we do now? Because we're beating everyone else, or we're beating other teams. We can't beat them. Or we plan for them. We're all the way down, so it's only up. You can't go any further down. Well, you can, but let's hope not. What do you think right now is the general problem with West Indies cricket?
I mean, there's so many. There's so many, and probably if we recorded this on another day, I might say something else another day. So I'm gonna give an answer which people might not expect, right, as the answer. But here's what's wrong with West Indies cricket, right? As people, and I'm speaking to anybody who consumes West Indies cricket in whatever form. So forget the players, right? Just forget them for a second. Forget administration. Forget the fact the pitches are poor. Forget the coaching. Forget the lack of money, right, and resources. Just forget all that. All of that is relevant, and all of those contribute to a big problem. I've been thinking on this more and more recently. The actual biggest problem in West Indies cricket is that the people who watch it and embrace it, there are still too many that don't understand where we are now. And actually that can apply to administrators, by the way. So whoever is listening to this, whatever guise you're in, I think there are a lot of people across the region who still don't get it and still don't. And you just said it yourselves, right? We are at rock bottom, right? But we haven't just recently hit rock bottom. We've been at rock bottom for a long time, right? And there are too many people who I think still look at West Indies cricket and our past success and assume that we should be somewhere else rather than judging us as what we are, right? So I think on the last episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, I think it was yesterday, we spoke about we looked at the example or the analogy of West Indies cricket and Manchester United. Once upon a time, when everyone was much younger, Manchester United were the best club in the Premier League. They won all the titles. They won regularly. They 2-time European champions in the last 15, 20 years, whatever it is, right? And then they hit a down period. And now Manchester United are a middling, also ran team in the Premier League. They may become good again some point in the future, but right now it's not that, right? And their fan base has had a huge problem with accepting that where they were is nothing to do with where they are right now. And I think until the general West Indies ecosystem, from fans to administrators to players to coaches to whoever, accept that we should be judged by where we are, not where we once were, I don't see how things naturally improve, because you have to start from your start point of rising again is by first accepting where you are. And I think some people have accepted it, but okay, so we've just lost 2-0 to New Zealand in the Test series, right? And there is a split between some people who look at that and go, wow, we only lost 2-0 in a 3-match Test series, and we actually drew a Test series in New Zealand, right? So there's some who look at it and go, I can't believe we actually drew a Test match in New Zealand, and see that as an improvement relative to where the team is. And there's others who look at that and go, they didn't win any Test matches, therefore it's useless and they're no good, and this team, you shouldn't watch this team because they can't do anything. And until we all accept where we're at, I don't like, it's almost like there's opposing forces working against each other, and you can't go forward till there's a natural unity and acceptance of where we are to then move forward. And so that's why you often hear, sorry for making this answer so long, that's why I think we always end up in West Indies cricket with simplistic responses like, or just sack that person, or remove that man, or bring in this next guy, because everyone thinks if we search for just that one thing, it will suddenly change everything around. But the issues in West Indies cricket are so complex that there is no one answer to anything. So the first answer is you just have to accept where we are first, and then we can move.
And that is key to any sport, not even sport, to anything, because you're not going to go buy galvanized to build a house when you don't have blocks for the ground. You're not going to go buy windows if you don't have walls. You have to assess where you are, and then when you assess, then you make the move and know where we are. And that is a problem with the fan base. I recently did some fan questions, and one of the questions I think was, do Caribbean fans put too much pressure on all their teams, etc.? Can't question fully, but I think we do. Generally, what happens in the Caribbean is that Antigua plays against St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad. So we win matches amongst each other, but then when it's time to, we play so much regional competitions and win amongst regional competitions, we call ourselves winners. When it's time for us to go on the world level, we are so far behind that we don't accept it. For example, our national team, I captain our national volleyball team, and we've won the regional championships for the last 3 years in a row. last August we went to Mexico for the Pan American Cup. Way above our level. Way above our level. Played the US, we played Cuba. We had great games against them, but obviously we weren't going to win. You get back home, oh, y'all lost. That's what we see because we are so accustomed to seeing the wins against the region that when we go overseas and can't get the wins, it's a lot.
Yeah. And do you know what? Jumping on that, when you then go overseas and you lose, that is the moment to then invest and say, how do we get to that next level? But instead, and I think this is a region-wide problem, we don't invest till things reach rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
and then we invest.
It's as simple as driving a car. We don't change a tire that we see is going bad until it goes completely bad.
Yeah.
That's Caribbean. That's the Caribbean.
And then everyone asks questions as to how did it get that bad when those involved could say, but you should have seen the signs coming.
Yes.
So you see what I mean?
So, I mean, we are in West Indies cricket, there's a lot to be sad about, but there's a lot to be happy about. For instance, we now are about to see something that I've been hoping for forever when it comes to less specialized players. I don't think we have enough players in the region, enough quality players in the region for us to be like, hey, you only play T20, you only play ODI, you only play Test cricket. What are your thoughts on that?
No, completely agree. And I think Darren Sammy has caught a lot of pelters, some deservedly so, some not, since he became head coach of all the formats. But the one thing he was right to say from the jump when he got the coach's job was there is no such thing as a white ball specialist or a red ball specialist. You're just a West Indies cricketer. And we've seen with Sammy that he's brought Brandon King into the fold. He's brought Shea Holt back into the Test fold. He brought Ruston Chase back in, which has not worked out. But the point is that, as you say, we don't have enough of a talent pool to be pigeonholing. And look what's happened in years gone by. That's why we ended up in a situation where between Andre Russell, Kyron Pollard, and Nicholas Pooran, they play one Test match between the three of them. No other Test nation would end up in that situation where you have three world-renowned cricketers and there's one Test match between the three of them. And that's because we did that to ourselves. People can talk about T20 franchise cricket all they want, but we did that to ourselves. We refused to think outside the box, pigeonholed players as only being able to do something, and then we lose them to a format of cricket. So I think Sammy is to be applauded for probably being the first coach in a while that's been able to kind of get a shared synergy from all of the players, or the majority of the players, to understand there's no white ball, red ball. You're just a West Indies cricketer, and if I pick you, it's because you're good enough to play across the formats.
As I did an interview with Sir Curtly Ambrose a few months ago, and one thing he always says, the ball weighs a particular weight, whether red, whether white, whether orange, whether pink. Doesn't matter the format. Just go in, play. Obviously, there's some discipline that you have to execute differently in other formats. However, it is still the same goal. When you're batting, protect your wicket, make runs. When you're bowling, get the other guy out. Nothing changed in that aspect. Right now we have a clear in our team generally. We have some problems. I think that one of our problems is definitely our opening batsmen. It doesn't matter the format. It's a bit lighter in the T20, Johnson Charles, Evan Lewis, whoever opens there. A little less criticism for our T20 openers, but obviously our other openers are struggling. This last series, we saw some positive batting from them in terms of their run scoring. Ideally, you wish that Hayley Matthews could have been a part of our men's team, because of how great she is. But we're transitioning over to her greatness. It's not something that we talk about a lot generally. I mean, the team isn't great. Let's face it. However, Haley is arguably our best West Indian cricketer right now, and that is not a knock to any of the men. It's just what she's doing. What do you think of her as a cricketer?
Haley should be a Caribbean superstar. And I mean, we this isn't the show, but one day we could get into the kind of the politics of how we see each other as Caribbean brethren and sistren, right? But Hayley Matthews isn't just a Barbadian superstar, right? She should be as a West Indian cricketer, she should be getting promoted just as much in Antigua as she is in Jamaica, as she is in Guyana. It's irrelevant to me that she happens to be born and raised in Barbados. She is representing us as Caribbean people. When was the last time we could truly say that we had a cricketer? Shea Hope's the closest on the men's side because he's good in both T20 and ODI cricket, and maybe he's going to have a bit of a test resurgence in the last part of his career. But Hayley Matthews is good at everything: bats, bowls, fields, dominates every single format of the game. As a women's cricketer, right? If she is basically the Viv of this generation, she just happens to be in women's cricket, and therefore we should be promoting her as the Viv of this generation. Maybe that speaks to where women's cricket is seen in the pecking order of sports in the region, but we're missing out on something here in terms of if you want to boost West Indies cricket, well, get behind boosting Hayley Matthews, because she is. That's what you do. You spoke about your love for Kobe Bryant at the start of the show, right? That's Hayley Matthews is on Kobe Bryant levels, but we don't promote her on that level. She's a franchise player, and I don't mean franchise in the sense of T20 franchise. I mean franchise in the sense of she should be the face of West Indies cricket. Yeah. Really, and if she was a male cricketer and she was doing what she was doing as a male cricketer, you don't think we'd be promoting that person as the face of West Indies cricket? Do you see what I mean? So she should be the face of everything we do with West Indies cricket.
Definitely, because her talent is just unheard of. I think back to my time watching cricket. I never saw Sir Viv, obviously. I never saw our legends. My father and Sir Curtly, they played football together. And Sir Curtly played basketball with my uncle. And, that's how he is my GOAT. I mean, I keep telling people cricket is a sport where a lot of batsmen get glorified. And I can't penalize Sir Curtly because he couldn't bat as well as Sir Viv or Sir Gaffey. So I can't. So I enjoy bowlers. So that is he is the GOAT in my book. But what Hayley does, as you mentioned, what she's been doing has been amazing, and we need to get her the recognition, the market around her. When we do things like that, you show movement, you show positivity, you show incline rather than decline. We didn't take advantage of Chris Gayle's dominance in T20 cricket as a marketing. We didn't. We haven't taken advantage of anything at all. You go to Chicago today, you walk into a store, Michael Jordan jerseys are still on sale at crazy prices.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a Sir Viv jersey here? Those two jerseys you have there in the background, why isn't it a Sir Viv replica? Because we don't sell them.
Yeah. This is my biggest bugbear about West Indies cricket. I don't think we market ourselves well. Or we almost market ourselves in the sense of we know it's weird, right? We know that we're most people's second team. We know that we have a huge diaspora following. So it's almost like our approach to marketing is, well, it just markets itself.
Yes.
But that's not how things work. That's not how things work now in the 21st. Like we're playing catch up on marketing. Like the West Indies is so unique as an entity. If we were marketed properly, we'd actually be the biggest team still, even with our rubbish results. would be the biggest team in cricket because of how unique we are as an entity to sell. But we don't market. We don't market what we got. So
it's something that's very sad. Actually, it is not even upsetting. It is very sad. Being a marketing major as well I can think of a million ways that we can sit around the table and come up with ideas beyond the Facebook page. I coach women's volleyball. I say to my senior players who are older than me, I say to them, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, your coach shouted on you and it worked. This generation understands that they don't need to play sports. They don't need to do anything. They can get up, go on their computer, and find a million things to do to make money. So, and everything you do, you must put in work. So West Indies, our CWI, thinking that we don't need to do heavy marketing and our past will speak for itself, that will never work. You must put it, because you're competing with the Mukbanger, you're competing with the Kaisenats, you're competing with every single thing that's on a screen. Because what? Everything is now on a screen.
Yeah.
In the past, I had to wait until you came to Antigua to do an interview. And now look.
Yeah.
So
no, it's true. Yeah.
Going into the T20 World Cup, we are going into an arena where I think we should be able to cause an impact. We are down two of our most impactful players. Whether people will say, hey, Nicholas Pooran doesn't do it as much when he has on the maroon, I don't care. I generally think it takes one good tournament for him to do it. We're down Andre Russell, not sure who may be injured or who is not injured going into the World Cup because of how it's not close, but it's not that far. What would you say would be a passing grade for us?
So on paper, our group is Italy, Bangladesh, Nepal, England, and then us.
Yes.
On paper, you want to believe that West Indies are the second best team in that group of five. On our day, we're the best team in that group of five. However, I could also see a scenario where we're the third best team in that group on our day, right? So the first thing that I would say to your average West Indian fan is I'd say do not take getting out of that group for granted. West Indies, if I had to wager on it, I'd say that they will, but I'm not taking it for granted, right? And one of the reasons why is I look back at the last three T20 World Cups since we won it back in 2016. 2021, we were automatically put in the group stages and won one game against Bangladesh, lost to everyone else, crashed out. 2022, we were put in the preliminary round with Scotland, Ireland, and Zimbabwe. We won one game, lost two, didn't even make it to the main stage of the World Cup. Then last year, under Darren Sammy, we got to the Super 8s, having got out of our group with New Zealand, Afghanistan, I think Papua New Guinea and Uganda, right? And to be fair, I remembered saying then that we'd done well to even get out of our group then because New Zealand and Afghanistan's no joke, right?
Yeah,
and we managed to go through. Yeah, we managed to go through as one of the two qualifiers. And then I remember that I said last year, anything once we got out of the group was a bonus. I'm kind of the same opinion with this World Cup as well. Obviously, we've had a bit of a rotten year in T20. Certainly at the start of the year, we came good in Bangladesh in the back end, sweeping them 3-0. If all of our players go into that tournament in form, then yes, we can cause some shocks. And we might even, there's a scenario where if everyone is on form, how I could see that we could get to a semi-final. I don't want anyone listening to this thinking that I'm saying that, by the way. But I'm just saying there is a scenario how I could see it happening if everyone was on form. However, it's rare in West Indies cricket that everyone is on form.
Very, very.
So I would say that the target and what is par should be that we make it to the Super 8s. Anything we can do from that stage onwards, any kind of victory is above par against, because by then you would expect that most, unlike the last World Cup when we got to Super 8s and USA were somehow in it, you assume with this World Cup that most of the teams that get through are going to be good.
Yeah, there's no chance US beat Pakistan again.
Right, exactly. Those things like that I'm not expecting to happen again, right? So any win we get in the Super 8s would then be a bonus, and anything from there would be a bonus. We've obviously still got some critical issues, though, with our T20 squad, and this is with the best will in the world. We still have an issue around death bowling. Still some issues around, do we maximize the power play properly? Do we really have a bowling attack that can restrict sides? I know Jason Holder's in some good form at the moment, but when I look at our bowling attack, I basically see Jason Holder and Akil Hussain and the rest. Alzari, if he comes back, and obviously Alzari's injured at the moment. If Alzari comes back and he's in good form, then at least there's 3 bowlers I can trust. Alzari, Akil, Jason Holder. But that still leaves you 8 overs where anything could happen. Dependent on who's playing and how. Like Romario Shepherd could just as easily go. He could go 4 overs, 2 for 20, or go 4 overs, none for 70. Like, you don't know sometimes with Romario Shepherd, like, what's going to happen. So we aren't as blessed as some other T20 sides where we're able to say those are our 5 bowlers and that's who we're banking on to deliver. Which is why Ruston Chase then has to play as the relief bowler, because someone usually is down bad with the ball in T20. So Ruston's got to bowl their overs for them, and so there's a lot of question marks around our T20 side, which suggests that we can't go as far as we'd love them to go. But you never know. You just never know.
We're basically getting towards the end of the interview. One thing I'd say, the first thing I'd do for us to start wrapping up is give you one of my favorite takes from CCP. Remember that year that it was Kevin Sinclair, and you said, listen, why isn't Rakeem Cornwall in contention? That for me still stays on top of one of all the takes. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I was thinking it, turned on the show today, and I heard it. I was like, oh, you see? Great minds do think alike. But to close out the show, we're going into some quick Q&A. Nothing for you to really deeply think about, just shoot the answers at the top of your head. Now, we are 5-a-side, 10 over game, all-time West Indians. You have to play, though. You have to play, and you're either opener, and in this game, it's not 2 batsmen at the wicket. You're batting for yourself, so every run, when you run to the other end, that's it. You switch. So you have to pick a batsman, a wicketkeeper. If you want to do two spinners or 2 pacemen, or 1 and 1, and an all-rounder.
And I have to play.
Yes. So you put yourself in one of those slots. Sorry, you make the 6th. So it's 6 players.
Oh.
Yes.
Right. So first things first, if I have to play, I'm picking a team where the other 5 players are so strong, it doesn't matter that I'm even there, because I'm contributing nothing to the cause. So the other 5 players are, just trying to find who I'm trying to get my way around this. Viv obviously is in. Gary Sobers is in. He's my all-rounder. Curtly Ambrose is in. He's my first bowler that I'm picking. I think if T20 cricket existed when Curtly was around, he would have mashed up enough people. So Ambrose is in as my bowler. But don't have a wicket keeper. That's what I'm trying to work out. West Indies were never really blessed with a wicket keeper, you know. That kind of feels like the. No, do you know what I'm going to do? Actually, this is what I'm going to do. Pooran gets in there. So I know some people are going to be disgusted that I said that, but I've got to pick a batter who, where wicket keeping, they can wicket keep, but that's not their primary suit. So originally I was going to say Hope, but I'm going to go with Pooran instead because of just if it's like a short match, Pooran's the one I trust to be more explosive in a quicker time. And then my other batter. Do you know what? Let me change my team. I'm changing it. So here's my team. Viv, Chris Gale, Gary Sobers, Curtly Ambrose, Nicholas Pooran, me. And just to clarify, Pooran is the wicketkeeper. Ambrose is my one strike bowler. Sobers is my all-rounder. And Gale gives me off-spin bowling as well, which is why I've put him in. Originally, I wrote down Lara. I crossed out Lara and put Gale because Gale, short game, more explosive from ball one, but also he can bowl. So that covers me for some bowling as well. Viv could turn his arm as well, to be honest. But so yeah, that's my team. Viv, Gale, Sobers, Ambrose, Pooran, me.
I think that's a great team. I am modern day, so I would have traded out. Obviously, he's great. Garfield Solar is obviously great. My grandfather's name is Garfield. Rest in peace. But because as a modern day cricketer, I think I would trade him out for Sunil Narine, and I'd put Chris Gale as my all rounder. And I'd keep everyone else there for sure. I mean, in this, I watched the short format, just Sunil Narayan's ability. I mean, yes, he didn't really favor the maroon as much as he favored franchise cricket, but we saw him come in as a guy that you could hit the ball, and now he's hitting the ball. So definitely would be able to use him. But your team for sure is a really good team. Next question.
I think my inclusion is the key person in there. To be honest,
for sure, for sure. The next question: if you're sitting around a table with your all-time favorite West Indian players, table of 6 again, just generally, obviously, no position. Who are your 5 all-time West Indian cricketers? Favorite. They don't have to be the greatest. It just has to be your favorite.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let me just write them down in my head or on paper first. I've got 3. 3 came to mind straight away. Let's go a bit earlier in my mind as well. Okay, so how many did you say? 6?
Yeah, no, 5.
5. This probably speaks to the era that I grew up in, but this is who I've got. Chris Gale, Shivnarine Chandapur, Curtly Ambrose, Carl Hooper. He's my favorite cricketer of all time. Carl Hooper. The 5th one is difficult. Hooper, Gale, Chandapur, and Ambrose are definites. I think the 5th one, which is controversial because some people are like, I don't get it, but I think I'm going to throw in Ramnaresh Sarwan in there, just because when Sarwan broke into the team, I was still like a teenager when Sarwan broke into the team, and Sarwan should have gone on to have an even better career than he did. Like, the man still averaged 40 in Test cricket and 40 in ODI cricket. Like, we because of how great the West Indies greats were, we act like that wasn't good. But Sarwan was probably he was probably the last player to debut in West Indies cricket that was genuinely of a world-class ability, and could have got into. I mean, there's hope in this generation in one particular format, but Sarwan debuted in 2000, and I would argue that we haven't had a player since Sarwan that you could say, yes, you are world-class in every format of cricket that you're playing. So yeah, I'm going to throw Sarwan in there because that's more specific to the era in which I would consider my era of West Indies cricket.
Mine, I mean, Azari, obviously, we grew up together. We're from the same community. We used to play football together. He was the reason that I don't play cricket anymore. Funny story, but I can't give that one on here. Funny story. But Azari, definitely Johnson Charles. I mean, listen, there was a time watching Johnson Charles, if he played 10 balls, he either is out before the 10 or he's at 30 by the 10. And that was the style of cricket I enjoyed watching. I am a Lendl Simmons fan for sure. I think that Lendl Simmons is again, these are not the greatest cricketers, but they're just guys that I remember moments for me that just turned me into their fan. Chris Gayle, there is no doubt that everyone in my generation is a Chris Gayle fan. The charisma, it was a time of Usain Bolt with the charisma off the field, so there's definitely Chris Gayle. And Sir Curtly Ambrose. As I mentioned, I think he's the greatest cricketer to ever live. May not be a batsman, but I think his impact with the ball is just as good as some of the other greats, their impact with the bat. There was one thing that I knew I forgot to ask. And obviously, now I have to do some editing, But when you give your takes and you have these episodes, Steve, like on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith says, hey, this guy called me about my take. Don't have to name drop, have you ever been contacted by any West Indian player saying, hey, bro, yes, no, like, have they ever contacted you about the show?
I'm trying to think what story I can tell here. Suffice to say, there have been shows that we have done that have led to any of the following contacting. I've had former players contact me. I've had friends of current players contact me. I've had administrators contact me. I've had current players contact me. I've had former players on other international teams contact me because of something I said. So that's how so how sometimes you might hear me say on the show, I know some of you are watching this on your burner phones. I'm not just saying it. I'm not just saying it for jokes, because based on what happens after some episodes, I have to assume that either people are watching it on their burner phones or friends of theirs are sending them certain things and saying, now look what you said this time. because of what then happens next, I have to assume people are sharing some of this stuff in their WhatsApps or something like that. So no one's ever, but what I would say is no one's ever been angry. I think is what I would say. I've had an agent was angry with me once, actually. That's a story for another day. An agent got in touch and was angry because I think something I said about one of their clients. But no player, administrator has ever got in touch with me and said, I'm angry with what you said. It's always more been in the sense of either I agree or I disagree, but I thought you made an interesting point about something. Do you see what I mean? So It's always usually been quite cordial in terms of breaking it down and them saying something like, help me understand why you said what you said, if that makes sense.
On my show, because I cover all sports, I can remember this one time, a person who I thought, me and him were cool. I thought we were actually friends, and their knockout stages it was coming up, I think he was the MVP of the last few regular seasons, but when they went into the playoffs, even if his team won, he wasn't the MVP. And I just made a nice list and I said, players who have the most to prove. And I thought that him being regular season MVP for 3 years in a row, player of the year, but when it comes to the playoffs, the finals, he's not the MVP because someone else takes over. I think he needs to take the step and show that he can be the guy to lead when all the pressure is on. Boy, Mash, I haven't spoken to him since.
And do you know what I find interesting about that stuff though is, and I can tell from you and I talking, I always say to people, but none of this stuff is malicious. It's not. I'm not out to get no one. I'm just expressing an opinion. That's all it is.
Like, I don't want the coach to get fired because I don't want the coach to lose his job. I wish that he could get fired as a coach and get a next job somewhere in the organization so he can continue to make money. But right now, I just don't want him to be the coach. That's just generally how I feel. I don't want him to not be able to feed his family.
Exactly that. But maybe that speaks to how we inhale sports within our region as well. You're either a winner or you're a loser, and there can't be nothing in between.
Well, definitely, again, thank you for joining. This has been the Endgame Sports Show. My name is Adrian Constant. I was joined by Marshall St. Patrick Hewitt of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Do remember you're locked into WTP 93.5 FM, WTP Media Network. Follow us on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and obviously keep your dial locked in to the Endgame Sports Show. My name is Adrian Constant. It was a pleasure being on here with you guys.
Cocos, what's the striking rate? Time to put on the beer. Back to. I am a true batsman. I've been with 100.
And Adrian is sports. Join me, Adrian the Lefty Constant, for the sports show that is going to rock the airwaves, the Endgame Sports Show. Previews, reviews, debates, and discussions on everything happening in sports. Whether local, regional, or international, the Endgame panel got you covered. Join us from 1 to 3 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on WTP 93.5 and 93.7 FM for the Endgame. Remember, sports is unity.
This is WTP Radio, 93.5 FM, coming to you from the biggest village in Little Antigua.
Calypso. Feel the rhythm, feel the power, feel the culture of Antigua Barbuda. Friday, July 31st, the stage is set for the most powerful voices, the sweetest melodies, and the real spirit of Carnival. It's the Cavalier Rum Calypso Monarch Finals live at Carnival City. Will the reigning Calypso Monarch be defending her crown?
The harder they shake, the harder I coming back.
One stage, one microphone, one crown. Who will rise? Who will conquer the Calypso throne? Tickets only $40. Friday, July 31st. It's the Cavalier Rum Calypso Monarch Finals, Carnival City.
Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Antigua dry. No rainfall. Water precious. Don't waste it at all. Fill your tank. Catch your share. No wasting. Just be aware. Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Water works wonders. Don't waste
Save It, a timely message on water conservation from AP Way.
Water works wonders. Don't waste it.
This is WTP Radio, 93.5 FM, coming to you from the biggest village in Little Antigua.
Come here for a second, I love how you move, I think I need a lesson. Come closer, come closer. Girl, I got my eyes on you, I want to know if you'd like to join me officially. Come girl and jam with me, I don't need to know where you're from, don't really care who invite you. Join me officially, come girl and jam with me now. I got my eyes locked on you, show me what you can do, girl. Reserve the space just for you. Right in front of me, come set me like down. Whining and dipping low. I just hope I can hear you. But shall we put on a show?
Come in like a deaf. Check, check. Moves we a make. Step, step. When it comes to party, we now miss it. The whole team rolling clean. Well, just tell to me. Forward the next round, nicely nice. Get it in real loud, hype, hype. And the man try come kill the vibes on the door will hit ya. They call me the party juggernaut. Party non-stop, keep moving. Love to party like it is with ya. Party non-stop, keep tell moving. Them how bring the vibes, make a wine, make a wine. Find a bump of a grind, take a grind. Party turn up, everybody feel nice. Enjoy life and have a good time. Party time, so the team a roll out. Touch the fete, know the place a turn up. Drunk talk on the time for sober, and we bring the vibes. Tell the DJ turn up the speaker. Bartender send on the yada. Ginger mix with Johnny Walker in a mic up tonight. It come in like a deaf. Check, check. Moves we a make. Step, step. When it comes to party, we now miss it. The whole team rolling clean. Well, just tell to me. Forward the next round, nicely nice. Get it in real loud, hype, hype. And the bad try come kill the vibes, or the door will hit ya. They call me the party juggernaut. Party non-stop, keep moving. Love to party.